Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you're involved with the creative arts?
Yeah, of course. Well, I studied. I got my degree at York St John. It was the first year that York St John changed from being a campus of Leeds. So it's not. It basically I graduated in 2008. So I kind of like got the whole economy crashing down with the arts and everything around then. So essentially, I've never really had a career in the arts so far. It's always been something that I've pursued, like outside of having to work through essentially the economic crash. So that was fun. But yeah, that was graduation. I studied art. It basically at college. It was like classical civilization, English literature, and art. So for me, it's like poetry and art are quite intertwined. One of the best kind of marks I got at uni was sort of art, basically word art. It's kind of using poetry to inspire art and art to inspire poetry. So essentially, yeah, I'm currently working on a series of illustrated children's poems that I'm hoping to get published, and that's with a guy that I met on my art course in York that we've kind of kept friends with over the years. And I'm only recently back in Middlesbrough, so obviously I'm quite excited about the Mima and I think Pineapple Black. One of my friends is quite involved with those. I'm not sure. I think Paige Livingston. I don't think. I think you might know her name. But she said she'd complimented you on your Twin Peaks outfit the other day. But
Okay, that must have been down at Disgraceland, Baker Street.
yeah, so that's another aspect of it. So let's say we actually moved back to Middlesbrough at the start of the lockdown. So it's been a bit hard. It's been nice having the time to paint, and a lot of the work that I've been posting at the moment is because I finally had some time to actually kind of pursue, the ideas that are going around in my mind, I suppose.
So from that, I'd be quite interested to hear what you think of what's going on in Middlesbrough at the moment in the art scene and
I'm
how
really
you
excited. It's Yeah, it seems to be honest, it's one of those things where growing up when I did in Middlesbrough, the Mima wasn't there and everything like that, so there didn't seem to be anything kind of holding me here. Like as I knew, already at that point, I wanted to kind of pursue the arts. So yeah, the Disgraceland thing, the whole Baker Street, it's really sad. Obviously, I saw in the paper the other day. I think the woman who owns Dr. Watson's and Sherlock's was saying they might only have 3 weeks left of being able to keep open. But that whole area, the regeneration, and I think opposite the train station was that where there was another. I can't remember what it was called.
So there's base camp, which is kind of opposite the train station, and then there's the auxiliary
Right.
down Station Street, which I don't know if you've been there.
It's really inspiring. I think I know obviously quite a few younger artists from have no intention of leaving now. Whereas I know I genuinely because obviously I've that girl we're talking about, she's about 6-7 years younger than me. She was just we were chatting and she's like, yeah, I have no intent. I'm basically quite confident in the fact that I can have a career in the arts in Middlesbrough and stay around my family rather than having to move away. And so for me coming back now, I'm kind of like, do I want to move away again? It's like I'm starting to feel like this might be the place to try and push it a little bit more than I've been able to.
Oh, well, you've just made me really happy. This is
There you
kind
go.
of
That's great. Yeah, I never thought I'd be so happy to be back. I moved away to York when I was 19. I met my partner there. She went to do her master's in film in Newcastle. So I ended up working for British Airways. I was the British Airways social media team for a few years. And that was just completely bizarre. But again, a lot with words. It essentially was playing on sort of cultural tropes, and it was just strange, like middle, like sort of like all the women in the team going, we have a tweet about Star Wars, what do we do? So it was kind of fun, but again, I always felt like I was giving most of my time to something that wasn't what I wanted to pursue. So yeah, the let's say being back, it's quite inspiring to see young people being able to have meetings. I know the studio space seems a lot better in Middlesbrough now as well. Seems to be quite a lot of opportunities for that. So once all this social distancing nonsense is over, I'll be looking into a studio, I think.
brilliant. Yeah, I know the auxiliary are working together with Navigator North on that. I think they've got 30 studio holders across Middlesbrough now.
Okay, and is that auxiliary? And what was the other?
Navigator North.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
I mean, they just, they just help artists develop their practice and
yeah.
give them the space that and encouragement and facilities that they need to do so. And I
Much
like,
better than ink all over the kitchen.
yes, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
essentially what's happening at the moment. I'm waking up every morning. There's pink ink everywhere again.
Yeah, absolutely. Just and having the space to work, and also like because I have a studio down at the Auxiliary.
Right.
Just I mean, obviously it's tricky at the moment because the exhibitions you go in and it's like so much incredible work there, but it's a very limited amount of people that can see
Yeah.
it compared to the amount that would be down there. But there's always someone there. There's always someone working. There's always creativity going on.
Perfect.
And just a really really fantastic.
It's just a sort of a symbiosis, isn't it? Everyone's influencing each other in that kind of situation. That's the only real time I've had in the studio was at university, and so obviously there's always a theme or the general, module at the time. So I can imagine it's quite exciting to be in a place where everyone's just completely off on their own tangent. Sometimes meeting in the middle, maybe.
Yep. Oh, well, I'm really, really enjoying this. Is great. So one question that I generally ask people is, obviously, like you're as an artist, as a poet, you're kind of working towards producing something that can be exhibited or whatever. But beyond that idea of producing a piece of work, what do you think being involved with the creative arts gives to people? And what does it give to you?
Yeah, I suppose for me as well, there's a big art therapy. Like the masters I'd like to pursue in the long run would be art therapy. So I see a lot of artists as kind of like their own therapists, and I think that's but not just visual arts. Obviously, whether people might feel a bit constrained in day-to-day life, but they can sing, like an angel on stage, or I think it's an outlet that people need. I think a lack of imagination is essentially the death of the soul, so it's kind of, as soon as you obviously with the comments Rishi Sunak's made over the last few days, it's literally like what does he think people have been doing on furlough? Does he think they've not been watching films, they've not been listening to music, they've not been reading books, they've not been reading comics? It's just mind-blowing, isn't it? So what I would say is, for me personally, it's allowed me to basically not go mad, I suppose, but in the most simplest term. But yeah, I think you need an outlet, and whether that outlet is, go and go karting with your friends because you don't have that creative outlet. But I think everyone needs that, and for the people in the arts, the best thing is they get to share their outlet. So it's not just a personal thing you do on a weekend that makes you feel great. That entire process of making that painting might be therapeutic for you, but then someone else might see it and it's like the death of the author. They see a completely different thing. For them, it's talking to them about, their dead grandma or something. And, you could never have perceived that. It's just like, academics talking about whether this poem meant this or this. And, probably the poet himself was sat under a nice tree just going, I love words, just sticking them together. And now it's like, like Tiger, this is obviously about the Napoleonic War. And it's like, is it? Did William Blake just have a nice vision of a tiger, So I think the best thing for artists and in any sort of medium, is that you can share with the world and give a little back from what you're taking in. And it's kind of like a factory, isn't it? It's like you take the world in, you process it, but rather than just letting that sit in your mind, it's like, right, back to you guys.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, Rishi Sunak, I think he has actually been a little bit shafted because he was
out of context
terms, and he was pushed to that, but
yeah,
gonna spend much of my time defending him. But coming
it's
back,
like John Lennon saying he was bigger than Jesus.
Yes, well, yeah, I'm not going to mention his name. Yeah. The important thing being, as you were saying, the positive effect that being involved in the arts has on people's mental health.
Yep.
And like recently, I found out that the arts bring more to the UK economy than agriculture.
Wow.
It brings more to the UK economy than aviation, automation, and the automobile industry combined.
Wow.
But there's also that added amount of money that it's saving the economy, because how many people would be relying on mental health services if
Yeah.
they did not have the arts?
Yeah, of course. 100%. And if and even if they're not involved, if they didn't have the theatre to go to, or they didn't have the cinemas as well, you know, it's like it's the great auditorium of escape, really, isn't it? You know, and they've lost it. You know, it's crazy.
Absolutely. And what we're doing down in lockdown to keep us focused, you know, what we're watching. We're not sitting playing with Excel spreadsheets to keep us.
No, hopefully not too big ones anyway.
We're watching films, we're reading books, we're we're engaging in the arts. It's
100%. It's just I think there'll be a lot of artists. For me personally, I wasn't furloughed at first. So I was, for the first few months of it, I was watching a lot of my sort of fellow creative friends on Facebook and Twitter or whatever. You know, oh, you know, it's great to finally have this time, and I was like a bit of a sting of jealousy for me. But at the same time, obviously, you know, you can't imagine the implications of the furlough, and again, these people might be finally jumping into that because they need to get away from the whatever realities are happening. But I think that the future of art therapy is, I think in the long run, maybe 20 years down the line, it'll be a lot more respected. And I know that it is very respected at the moment, but it seems to be with music therapy, art therapy, all kind of combined, seems to me like a big thing for the arts as well, in just being able to say, look, we can entertain you, but we can heal you.
absolutely. I love that. So I'm going to leave it there, because I think that's a absolutely fantastic point to finish on. And thank you for your time. And I'm so glad that I saw your
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's been a pleasure. Where did you see the work? Just out of interest.
Just on Facebook. I don't know
Okay.
if who posted it.
Yeah, so it's like I say, I've been posting them a little bit more just because, again, like I'm like, well, my big problem is that something gets made and then it gets put in a folder and I move on. And 2 years later, I open that folder and go, oh yeah, you know, damn right, I was going to do this, this, and this. So what I'm trying to do is kind of consolidate at the moment without creating too much. But then I'm like, well, this is the best time to create. But anyway, I'll leave you on that one. But it's lovely to speak to you.
Well, just to say, I mean, partly what the reason for all this is, all of these interviews are going to go up on a website, and
Okay.
the artists that I'm interviewing are more than welcome to add to their page
Perfect.
anything you like. So as you go on, any artwork that you want to add to there, or your poetry, or whatever you're doing,
Great.
then of course feel free.
Lovely. That's great. Well, I hope you have a good day anyway.
Yeah.
Stay alert.
Yes, take care.
See you later. Bye.